Well, I'd like to thank everyone from joining today. If you don't mind, I'll probably forgo the introductions. I think I know most of you, or we've met. I can see who's on just on the dashboard here. So, but feel free, very informal today, if anyone wants to jump in or has any questions or comments. And please, if I'm going too fast or if I'm not covering something that you want to see in enough detail, just let me know and I'll address that right then, and we'll cover it. I'll try to split this up to about 50% presentation and 50% demo, if that's okay. I do have some slides I'd like to take you through to kind of set the scene. And I also have Bruce Seeley on the line today, who's a VBrick system engineer that most of you have met. And if you have any real technical questions that I can't handle, Bruce will be here to address those for you as well. So with that being said, I'm going to kind of cycle through a few slides here. And then, like I said, we'll jump into some demonstration. Lee, do I need to go through the requirements document line by line, or can I kind of address everything within the presentation?
As long as you address everything, it should be fine.
Okay. If I miss anything, I'll pull it up at the very end and we'll hit it if we need to hit anything on there. But I think I'll hit all of it within the presentation here. So. Okay. I wanted to start out with this slide here, and I hope everybody can see my screen okay. If you can't, please let me know. But this is really indicative of our company, and one of the things I always emphasize is that we're not only a K-12 company. A lot of the people that are in our space are. We do cater to the enterprise world, K-12, K-20 education, as well as the federal government, state and local government. And we've been really successful in that enterprise space. So our product, which is specific to video distribution, all of our customers get to benefit for the development that a lot of the high-end enterprise customers are funding, like Goldman Sachs or JP Morgan Chase or some of the others that aren't listed here, Oppenheimer or Invesco, even companies like Dell that you already partner with. And a lot of our products are actually funded by some of these companies, like for the Air Force, they want a specific link integration, and Microsoft actually paid for that integration for them. So it's really one of these things that evolve from a lot of expenses being forgone by the enterprise market that filter down into education, and in our education specific as well. So we'll talk about that a little bit as we go through this. So the first thing I really wanted to do is make sure that everyone understood the VBrick ecosystem, and then we'll kind of go through some slides to show how it relates to what you're doing today. Where VBrick started back in 1997 and where we continue to really excel is in our what we call our encoding appliances, or our capture capability. And this kind of shows our ability to capture anything from video to PC and video, even software that'll run on a PC or a Mac and turn that into a broadcast capable encoder, or really high density solutions like our 11-slot encoder chassis that can actually deliver 44 channels of 1080p resolution encoding out of about 8 RU of rack space. So a lot of flexibility here, and a lot of things that 300 plus school districts in Texas are taking advantage of today. And really, in a lot of cases, this is all a customer would need to start streaming. They don't have to have any of the other things I'm showing you to get there. But what we found is that customers want to add in the capability to manage the video, to be able to restrict who logs in, what they watch. They want to be able to report on those things. So the VBrick VIMS Maestro Management Suite or portal gives you that capability. They're also looking for a repository for video on demand or storage. So by adding one of our VOD servers, which we'll talk about, it gives you that capability. And also the ability to record is very important. So we have a full recording suite that we call our network video recorder that we'll show today as well.
Is that VOD server now virtual, or is it still an appliance?
It can be either. So in the VIMS Maestro, the VOD server, and the network video recorder, all three of those can be virtualized. In the case of the VOD server, our most popular one is our distributed media engine, and it's actually available as a VMware image. So you just put it on a VMware vSphere, and it's ready to go. So one of the big differentiators of our product, actually. The distribution ring that I'm showing here, it shows the distributed media engine being there. We usually pull it back in as a VOD server, but it's also extremely capable of doing some things that I think are important for what the statewide network would be looking to do. And I have some drawings later that I'll show you to show how we can use it strategically placed in a distributed type architecture to take a single stream delivered from, say, TETN to an education service center and deliver that to a lot of other users within that service center without having to have 30 or 40 or 100 or 1,000 streams going across the wide area network or the internet to do that. So we'll talk about that. When I say VBOS, vBrick Online Streaming Service, or streaming as a service, that's us working with a content delivery network provider to be able to do things like graduation. Lori, you're on the call. We've worked with Discovery Education, you and your Discovery Education events, to deliver that to multiple school districts. Or we've even done things for like Homeland Security, where they've wanted to deliver worldwide certain messages. And this content delivery network is extremely capable. We also have a lot of different integration capabilities with different applications. I don't know if these are all applicable to you or not, but if they are, just know that we have the ability to record and broadcast from link into our system. We have the ability to represent our content in SharePoint, integrate with SQL Server from Microsoft, integrate with multiple Active Directory databases or LDAP environments. And also we have a lot of capabilities around video conferencing, as far as being able to record video conferences or stream video conferences. So that's part of our strategy as well. But really most important to your customers is how they display the video, and we give you the ultimate number of options in that regard, being able to show our live or stored video on PCs or Macs, laptops, mobile devices, iDevices, Android phones. We can go to the Microsoft, the Windows 8 type devices or the Surface type devices. We have our own set-top boxes that you can put out with displays. All of this can be integrated with either our or other digital signage solutions. And that tablet, that iPad, that different tablet type delivery seems to be all important right now. So as I talk today, I'll be telling you a lot about how we get to all the way down to all these different devices and pick up all of these different elements as we go along. Any questions on this so far? Yes, please.
On the new Maestro, which I don't have, where is that encoding taking place? Is it happening on the server, and is it automatic, or do you still have to tell it what you want to convert it to?
Oh, fine. I've got a slide actually that I think will explain that really well. But good question.
Okay.
In fact, maybe the next slide. Let me see here. Oh, next slide after this one. So we'll hit that one in just a second if that's okay, but don't let me skip it for you. So when we talk about the vBrick VIMS Maestro portal, really what we're talking about, what we've worked hard to create is a very social experience. We call it a YouTube-like interface. Like I mentioned, it can be virtualized as well as delivered on a server. Critical to the application that we're discussing for the state of Texas is the ability to support multiple LDAP or Active Directory environments so that you can use the authentication schemes that you've already built. Also critical is our ability to use what we call zone logic to be able to define all the different locations, whether it be a service center, a consortium like NetNet, or whether it be a school district. It could be a small or large school district as well, so that you can actually set up your routing scheme so that you're doing a least cost routing type thing for bandwidth. That's very important, and all that zone logic exists in our system today. We can also scale the system using common load balancing techniques that most of probably the service centers and the larger districts are already doing today. This allows you to have portals and subportals and redundant portals, and the ability to really go to a distributed architecture in regard to your management as well as your distribution. The portal also has full reporting capability. This is really important to be able to log in and see who logged in, what they watched, how long they watched it, especially if you're going in and trying to do things like issue CES credits or just being able to go back and have compliance for either human resources type activity or other. The system does have full search capability for metadata. If you enter a video, and a lot of times when you record like from a video conference, it may just be a timestamp with the name of that program. That'll be searchable, but you have the ability also to go in and enter additional metadata about that video to make it searchable. One of the questions in the requirements document, or one of the requirements, was actually the ability to have individual branding for multiple locations. Being up front today, that is not the case with our system today. Our system is singularly branded unless you do have sub-portals or additional instances of VIMS Maestro. But we do have that on the roadmap. It's scheduled for Q4 of this year to be able to have what we call true multi-tenancy, which would be when somebody logged in, the portal had their branding. They only saw their resources, and even the admin interface, they only saw their admin settings. Today, we can achieve much of that. The branding is probably the biggest problem for us, not to be able to show multiple different brands as you log into the portal for either the service centers or the districts or the consortiums. It would be singularly branded today if you went to a true distributed architecture. If you did have sub-portals, then you would be able to achieve that branding, individual branding. Also, the captioning and audio search functionality, I know that the captioning was called out, audio search was not, but we have that targeted in our system as well for Q4 of this year. We do have third-party ways today of doing closed captioning and auto transcription. So Oklahoma State University is a big customer of ours, and they have 45 of their classrooms that are equipped today for lecture capture. Whenever a new file goes onto their system, we work with a third party named DocSoft, D-O-C-S-O-F-T, out of Oklahoma. They actually have their transcription server sitting with our server, and whenever a new piece of video comes in, it auto-magically grabs that file, it transcribes it, and then it puts it back on the server. So we have some really good reference material available for that application. We're also releasing our mobile applications for iTunes, Microsoft, Windows 8, and Android. Respectively, we're looking at Q2 for the iTunes or the iDevice type functionality, Q2 or Q3 for the Microsoft Surface or Windows 8 functionality, and then Q2 or Q3 for the Android functionality as well. So those will give you the ability to go in and publish to VIMS Maestro, or also retrieve content from VIMS Maestro. Now, to answer the question about what formats we support, what we basically have done is we've put a transcoder that's no additional cost into VIMS Maestro that allows you to import from any of these file formats and output transcoded into either or H.264 with AAC audio or Windows Media. So this would allow you to serve to all those different devices. Once we have it in the H.264 format, our ecosystem allows you to deliver in the multiple formats, which we'll talk about here in a few slides. And I can make this available. I actually put this slide into the requirements document that I sent Lee that shows all of these different formats that we have available. Pretty inclusive if you look at it, all the way to even uncompressed PCM or uncompressed AVI files. We also have a multi-level content approval. This allows you to set up content approval workflows that could be applicable if you wanted to allow students to upload video directly to the system, to where when they submitted a video, it would not go live until it was approved by either a single or multiple approvers. This is something that can be turned on or off and fine-tuned within our system. So something that a lot of our districts are taking advantage of today. We have a module for our system that we call VIMS Presenter. This is our interactive module, if you will, or our webcast type module.
What?
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Muted.
Somebody have a question? Okay, I'll keep one here. The presenter module allows you to send invitations, track who has accepted. It's all part of our scheduling module in that regard. But when you actually present, it gives you the ability to upload PowerPoint or to use any of our other devices that have PC input and deliver both your video and your content, as well as integrate polls. And if you want to accept questions from the audience, audiences can ask questions. You see them come in and you can respond to the questions real time. On the polling, the great thing is that you can get instant feedback. It's almost like a student response system where when you ask a question, the viewers have the ability to respond to your poll, and you see the results immediately right on your dashboard.
John, I'm sorry. Could you go through that again?
Sure. This is our VIMS presenter module. It is a software.
So this is when if we were doing this live.
Well, you can do it live, but you can also record this, and people can take advantage of all the things that were done within the webinar or the presentation. They would see the answer to any of the questions, and they would also see the polls and how they were responded to. So it's basically a way to integrate your video and your content into a webinar-style interface. You don't have audio like we have today on this GoToMeeting. It's more of a people are watching and they're asking questions via text, and you're responding to them as the questions come in. And you can integrate polls into that where they can respond to that, and you can see the results of the polls, and you can see when the questions come in. You can either do it yourself or have a moderator relay the questions to you so that you can respond to any questions that come in.
So we could live stream from our video conference systems to this?
Absolutely, yeah, you could. That could be your video.
Like in a webinar. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And then it would integrate our PowerPoints within the recording?
Sure, yeah. What you would do is you would upload your PowerPoint to the server, and as you were doing your live event, you would actually advance the slides from the server, not from your PowerPoint.
Okay.
They would become part of this interface.
Okay.
As you can see here, we also have the ability to allow you to edit the video and then resync your slides to the video after editing as well, if you like.
This is in the new Maestro?
This is actually available today. It's an additional module that you have to purchase, but it is available as an option today.
Okay.
The device that I think really brings us all together, especially for something like a State of Texas deployment, is our distributed media engine, or we call today the DME. Again, it's a video on demand server, but it's also a lot of other things. It's an all-in-one solution that allows VOD, transmuxing, or transrating, just to make that clear what those are, the ability to change formats of video. If you are in a RTP format and you want to go to a flash format or RTMP, it can do that. If you're at 1 megabit and you want to go to 300K for iDevices, you can do that. Or more importantly, I think in your case, if you wanted to go from TETN to one of the service centers or all of the service centers, and then let the service centers reflect that content, if they had a distributed media engine at their location, you would be able to send a single stream to each service center, and then the service center would be able to reflect that content to all of the school districts. And if the larger school districts had a DME, they would be able to sing a single stream. This is something that Houston ISD is really interested in, for instance, and they'd be able to receive a single stream from the service center and then deliver that in a multicast format, even if they received it in unicast to all of their users, which is really an efficient way for them to deliver. So it's just a distribution mechanism that would allow you to distribute content much more effectively than what the other providers are doing today. It also gives us the ability to support iDevices, the Android phones, the flash players, MPEG-2 transport stream, which is important for a lot of the other manufacturers. RTP, which is good for Android and Android phones, and Microsoft Smooth streaming support, which is big now as well. So this is just kind of our Swiss Army knife box, if you will, that gives us the ability to do a lot of the things that will allow you to get to more than one type of screen: PCs, Macs, mobile devices, flash players, that kind of thing. It's also available either as an appliance or as a VMware image that you can install on your own server. It's available in 3 sizes, small, medium, and large, kind of t-shirt sizes, if you will, starting at the very low, like a small form factor footprint appliance, and going all the way up to a actually installed on a data center type server, but still being managed as an appliance. It has its own operating system. It's a fully enclosed image, if you will. It has 2 optional modules. One of them is for the video conferencing gateway. If you're familiar with the IPVCR, the Polycom RSS, the Tamberg content server, or life-size video center, this is very similar in that when we install this module on this device, it has the ability to join video conferences and record and or stream what's taking place in those video conferences. Really, for us, the biggest difference is the density that we can achieve. We can actually join on the large box up to 60 video conferences simultaneously and record and or stream if all the other things are in place from a VIMS Maestro perspective and network video recorder perspective. So it can give you a lot more density than what you're typically able to achieve on those other devices at a much lower price as well. So there's also another optional license, the trans rating that we talked about, being able to take a 1 megabit stream or a 2 megabit stream and then offer it up in different bit rates is an optional module for that device as well. So we'll talk a little bit more about it when I show some diagrams here in a second. For the trans rating piece of it, just basically looking here, like I mentioned, it can go to multiple outgoing streams, so kind of a multi-bit rate type scenario where you may want to have a high bit rate, a medium bit rate, and a low bit rate. It also works with Adobe HDS to be able to deliver content in that format for standard flash players. And not to get too deep into the extended caching, but the reverse proxy caching capability of this device is what really gives you the distribution capability that we're talking about and the ability to serve the content in a lot of different formats. We can also go to secure HTTP, secure FTP, and we can work with self-generated and customer-supplied SSL certificates. So this can really be, the security level on this can really be brought up, and that's mainly because we work with the federal government and such large organizations that have given us the ability to offer this type functionality to all of our customers. There's another module, or it could be a standalone server, that we call the vBrick Network Video Recorder. It comes standard with VIMS Maestro with 2 simultaneous recording ports. We can add ports in increments of 10 or 40, or even go to a custom number of ports. If you go up to 10 ports, it installs right on the VIMS Maestro server, and the number of ports that you buy, if you do have a distributed architecture, we can distribute those ports around the network. So let's say if TETN and all the service centers had the network video recorder capability, we could actually distribute the ports on whatever numbers were needed to those different locations.
How many ports would be used at TETN if you had that architect?
So the real idea here for recording, whether it's from the distributed media engine or video conferencing gateway, one of our encoders, wherever it may be, is to have a port available for that. So you would need to have the right number of ports, or if you could go to an oversubscription model, but for the number of recordings that you want to simultaneously perform, we need to make sure that you have a port available on our network video recorder at that location.
But how many, I mean, so if I wanted to record something here, I would just have to have a port available on my bridge going to them, or would they have, well, I guess they would have a port as well, so they would only use the one port going to me, correct?
Yeah, it would really matter where the recording was taking place. If it was taking place at TETN, they would need to have the port available. If you wanted to do the recording locally, you would need to have the port available. If a school district wanted to do the recording locally, they would need to have a port available. There's some ways to mitigate that, like by putting a hard drive into the encoder. But really the idea is wherever the recording takes place, that recording can be propagated across the network either automatically or it can be scheduled so that that recording can be distributed to all available VOD servers, to selected VOD servers, or scheduled to go out, even if you wanted to use your bandwidth from midnight to 6 a.m. or whatever, to school districts so that they would have that content available at their location and not have to stream it across the wide area network or the internet. I put a slide in about digital signage content manager. I didn't want to get too far in the weeds on this, but I did want to say that out of the manufacturers that you're looking at, VBrick is, I believe, the only digital signage provider left out of those. Polycom and Cisco at one time were both offering digital signage. They have both end-of-life those products, or they have both moved away from offering that. So if you want to add digital signage in the same ecosystem, VBrick is extremely capable of doing that, and it's something that, again, it can be hardware-based or virtualized, and it gives you a very entrepreneurial way that you can go out and market to your districts or to your customers, a way that you can front-end a lot of the cost of digital signage by taking on the content manager and allowing them to distribute players to their customers and manage that centrally. Our digital signage system is licensed by the number of players that you manage, and you can see here we have 3 levels, up to 2, up to 50, or up to 4,000. We're happy to go above 4,000 if you have an order for that. It is fully CAP, or Common Alerting Protocol, compliant. It has thousands of templates and backgrounds, or you can create your own. It does support native PowerPoint for your players, so if you want to include animations or transitions or even audio, all that will make it through. And we have lots of options for digital signage, including RSS feeds, web bulletins, emergency alerts. It's just a very capable system that is, again, being deployed across some of the largest enterprise customers in the world that we have made cost attractive to be able to deploy even in the K-12 level. And if you have some questions about that, Kip Robbins is really good to talk to, because he's actually deploying this model now. So this is he's got the licensing up to 4,000 players available.
Well, and just on that note, I want to add in, we're doing some really neat stuff with digital signage, where we're actually building a complete network of them through all of our high schools. By this time next year, we'll have one in every high school in our region, and we're using it for different things. Driver ed safety awareness is the key piece, but there's several different other projects you can just use your imagination, and to be able to have another network to communicate with all your schools from one central location. That's huge. So it's really good.
Thanks, Kip. And I will say that I've talked to food nutrition or food service departments in every one of your footprints already. I think that's becoming my specialty. I didn't know anything about food service before that, and now I know everything. Everybody is looking to deploy this in their cafeterias, but it's also becoming very popular. Like Frisco ISD has it in their Performing Arts Center. We're putting this just in the schools are getting very creative in replacing a lot of their old push pen paper signs with digital signs. So just know it's there, and I know it's an option with the VBrick system, and it's not an option with the other solutions that you're looking at, especially in this service provider type model. So really for VBrick, our ability to integrate with third-party equipment for streaming and recording The video conferencing gateway is able to interoperate with Cisco, Polycom, Lifesize, and other MCU, Radvision, for instance, or Avaya now. The distribution and zone logic is superior to anything else on the market. We're approaching 400 school districts in Texas that are already vBrick customers. vBrick is completely standards-based. Our price is low to start with, so there's really, when you talk about maintenance pricing, there's going to be no surprises there. Everything's available off of popular state purchasing contracts. We've been continuously providing video solutions since 1997. Our first customers in Texas came on in 1998. vBrick has a unique integration with Discovery education content as well as Learn 360. So if you want to start propagating that content onto your system, I was at Houston ISD last week, and they told me that 80% of their network traffic is Discovery education. And one of the big initiatives that they're looking at is to put that content within their district and have a good front-end interface for it so that they don't have to use all of that bandwidth, and they can use it for other things. So I created a little decision matrix here just to kind of give you an idea of the different modalities that I'm going to recommend. But we talked about a centralized model for TETN, a distributed or independent servers at the ESCs and consortiums, and then caching with DME at ESCs and possibly larger school districts, and kind of what that would give you for hosting broadcasts for all education service centers and consortiums, live and video on demand, hosting broadcasts but streamed to servers for reflection to minimize bandwidth utilization, centralized scheduling and presentations, what would be required for that, locally controlled scheduling, presentation, and content control for the entire state. And really the takeaway is that we have a solution for all of those scenarios, including doing it from a centralized implementation, a distributed implementation, or even doing it with moving all the content to the edge so that we can conserve bandwidth in the most aggressive way. I'll provide this to anybody that wants it to have. You don't need to try to take a lot of notes. If you just want the slide, it's available to you. So I had three scenarios here. I had one scenario where basically TETN had equipment where they had the Maestro server, the DME, and some number of video conferencing reports, or the video recording ports. But I also had where the ESCs would have the same equipment, if you will, and they would be configured as a slave server to TETN server. So we would have a redundant network. Everybody would know about everybody as far as updates, content, and that kind of thing, and it would all be propagated over the network. But there are other models that we could go to that would start to give you some different options, where even if TETN had all of the centralized hardware, the ESCs would still have the option of either having a redundant VIM server or not, and then even going out to a district level, being able to go out and give them the ability to have some of that caching or that local content at store, if you will. Kind of show the digital signage option there as well. And even having local encoders at the districts that are being managed either by the ESC's VIMS Maestro server or by TETN's VIMS Maestro servers. You kind of see here the flow line that you see here is an event coming off of TETN's distributed media engine and being reflected through the service center and to the district. This would require only one stream for that event to get to the service center that could be redistributed within the service center or to any of the districts. And then at the district, just one stream coming to it where it could reflect it to all of its users. So even if they had very minimal internet connectivity or WAN connectivity, they would be able to receive that event and get it effectively on every desktop. And then one more scenario 3 here that I'll call it, where TETN has infrastructure and the ESCs have infrastructure, but the VIMS Maestro servers don't know anything about each other. They're independent. They operate independently. The authentication is independent. The management is independent. but we still have the ability to take advantage of the distribution methodology for the distributed media engines by reflecting the content from DME to DME to DME. So this is the model that I think would most likely be adopted just because of the independent school district and the independent and education service center as well. So this would be an optimal model for distribution where there wouldn't have to be a lot of people giving up control of their infrastructure. So I put all of these in my response to the technical requirements as well. So really, in summary to all of that, all infrastructure items can be virtualized, which I think is really important these days. Most of the service centers, even the districts, have their own server strategies today. If you want to install on blade servers, if you want to install in a cluster, if you want to install in a large server that is got all your hosts on it, we give you that flexibility. We're the only solution that really offers a true and practical distributed architecture. You know, Cisco can come and say, hey, we're going to do ACNS or ECDS. It's just not practical for you to ask all of your service centers and all of your districts to do that. And that's the only way that their solution operates. It's the most flexible solution by far when you think about interoperability. We have to interoperate with all those others' equipment because we don't provide a video conferencing solution. So we have to work hard to make sure that we interoperate with all of those other solutions. You know, VBrick may be the smallest company out of the four that I know that you're looking at, but as far as video distribution goes in the state of Texas, there's none of those other guys that can claim they're doing video distribution, not video conferencing, but true video distribution for the number of school districts that we have, approaching 400. And the feedback that we get from our customers is that our solution is the easiest to use, it's the most feature rich, and I won't make this claim, but my customers make the claim that it's the best supported solution on the market as well. And I have lots of references that would tell you that. So hopefully that could be impactful. So before I move on to the demo, is there anybody that has any questions about any of the things that we've covered? Crickets? So what I wanted to show you today, I wanted to actually show you the VIMS Maestro interface. I was going to take an opportunity to show you the front end of the system, show you some of the content workflows from adding video, the features that it has, and then take you for a real brief tour of the back end of the solution as well. I think what you'll find when you look at this is that it's got a lot of flexibility, a big social aspect, and just really it's the look and feel is what we've worked the last 13 years developing, so hopefully you'll like it. If you don't like the dark color, for instance, you could actually go in and brand this or change just about anything about it that you don't like. It's real easy to go in and select the backgrounds and change the branding and the logos, move things around. Anything that you see with a tag or a name, you can change the text in that. If you don't like my videos and you want it to say TETN videos, you could change that. And I'll show you where you do that as well. So it's very easy to manipulate the look and the feel of the system. So if there's anything aesthetically you don't like about it, don't get caught up in that because you can change it. It's a very open website, but most of the ways that you change this now are all with a graphical user interface. You don't have to know HTML to change it. So, and I'll show you where we do that at. You can change all the text colors, the gradients, whatever you like. So, on the landing page where we're at now, this is where it's showing the content that you want to show your customer, the featured content, the related content, any system announcements, what's popular, what's been recently viewed, what's required, what people have recommended for you to view by your login. This screen is customized for you by your login, and you'll see the content that is related to that. When you see the categories here, these categories are categories that have been created, would be created either for you or by you. You can have categories, subcategories, and subcategories to subcategories. So it's very easy to create these. I'll show you where you do that. So real simply, when you come here to watch video, it's available to you here. So if you want to watch a video, you simply just click on it to watch it. It would look terrible across GoToMeeting. It's a screen scraper, but I'll bring it up here and show you what it would look like real quick. Once you have the video up and you're watching it, there's a lot of things you can do. If you wanted to go full screen with the video, if you want to turn closed captioning on or off, you want to capture a thumbnail, pop the video out in a separate player, or go full screen like I mentioned, or adjust the volume, you can do that. By my login, I have the ability to go change the name of the video if I like. I can just change it and submit that change, and it would become live. You don't have to give that ability. I just happen to have admin login rights right now. Ratings can be turned on or off, but you can give the ability to rate the video. If you want to create clips and playlist, we have the ability to go create clips and playlist of the video, so that you can only show a portion of the video if you like, or if you want to do top and tail editing, you can create a playlist or create a clip that does not include any dead air at the beginning or the end without ever having to download or edit the video. If you want to add it to your favorites, it would go into My Videos folder for you under your favorites. If you want to recommend it to either individuals or groups, this can be LDAP or Active Directory groups, or groups that you've created, you can do that right from here. It would go into the Recommend It folder on the home page. If you want to make it featured, if you have permission to do that, you can make it featured, and that would make it featured on the home page. If you want to make it required, if you have permission to do that, you can actually go in again for individuals or groups and make that video go into the required folder. If you just want to embed the video, let's say if you just, hey, I don't want somebody to have to use this interface, you could actually get the embed code for a small, medium, or large size player, or custom size. And you can see here that in this case we're using zones, so we can choose whether it's internal or external. And you would just literally take that code and drop it right into your web page, and it would drop a player without all the other features here right into your home page. And if you wanted anybody to be able to view that, we would just mark it as public, and they wouldn't have to authenticate even to view that video. It would just be a publicly viewable video. Or if you just want to email the link to someone quick and easy, we can just grab the link, throw it in the email, and when they click on it, it'll take them right to that piece of video. If you don't make it public, they have to have permission to view that video. So they can't just pass the link around and allow someone else to watch it. Across the bottom is where we get into some of the metadata type information or category information. You can see right now this piece of video is associated with Amy and demonstrations. If I wanted to assign it to additional categories, I could do that. It doesn't replicate the video. It only makes a database identifier to point it to those different categories and give it permission by those categories to view the video. If I wanted to create a new category, if I have permission, I can do that from right here. Or I can create a subcategory even if I wanted to. If I wanted to allow people to leave comments, I could turn that functionality on like I have here. We can go leave comments about the video. A lot of districts are scared of that, so they turn it off. Keywords for searchability. You can add whatever keywords you like to make the video searchable. This is all metadata. For additional information, you can put as much information in here as you like. You can see here we're classifying it by video type, class, and subject. If you wanted to make this star test or text tax or whatever you're doing, you could actually create all the drop-down boxes. Imagine if this was grade level, subject, section. We could actually put all of the testing standards into the database, and with a program like Heidi SQL where you wouldn't have to individually create all of this, and it would give you the ability to further classify your video and make it more searchable. We can also attach PDFs, PowerPoint, Word documents, URL links about the video that would make everything downloadable from this location. So it's a document server as well. If you don't like the thumbnail for the video, you just delete it. You can upload your own, or you can capture one from the video. And if you want to give permission, it depends on by who's logging in, we could actually even move the permissions to the front end of the system so that you don't have to log into the admin interface to do permissions for the video. This little bubble here for public content is what you would check if you wanted to embed this video on your homepage and make it viewable by anybody without having to authenticate or have single sign-on to be able to view that video. So let me show you add video real quick. This is kind of what I think you're interested in here, so I'll kind of take you through a scenario here where if you had some video on your computer, you have the ability, you can see here, for a URL, for video, multi-bitrate files, or even YouTube videos. So if, as an example from YouTube, if we wanted to go search from YouTube, I think I'll just search for Region 6 here and see what we get here. We could actually go in and find the video that we want it to link to. It'll pull all the metadata, the link, the thumbnail in if we want to use that thumbnail. And once we submit that video, we have the ability now to go and do all of the same type things that we just talked about as far as adding it to categories, comments, keywords, additional information. And we would just finish that, and it would become part of the system. Alternatively, if you just had a piece of video on your computer that you wanted to upload, you would just go choose that you give it a title, good searchable information here, if you will. You would choose the content from your computer, and it would actually upload that content right into the system for you. You would just select the file that you wanted. You would submit that. Once you submitted it, it would become part of the system. So that's kind of the front end of our system. If there's any comments or keywords or comments or questions or anything that you have about that, I'd be happy to address them for you. Otherwise, I'll show you the back end of the system. Before I go there, I did forget to show you two things. We do have a channel guide if you're doing IP television, which most of your districts are, where you can pull in up to 2 weeks of program guide data about a particular channel. It can be local or national. If you want to record it, you just click on this to record it. It adds it to the schedule to be recorded, and it'll go into your default recording folder. If you wanted to schedule something, like let's say if you had a video conference that was taking place on a recurring basis, we could actually go in and create an event for it. We would go in and tell it that we want it to record. We could tell it if it was recurring. We can do it weekly, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for 16 weeks. We'd hit finish, and it would go out and create that schedule for that event for 16 weeks on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday to the minute. The more information you can enter here, it's all going to become searchable metadata, so I recommend that you do that. And you can also rebroadcast events that you've already had using the scheduler. So this gives you the ability to rebroadcast an event on the hour, every hour, or a certain time every day if you like. It also gives you the ability, if you have set-top boxes, to go create a playlist, a to-the-minute playlist of what you want to show up on a certain display to the minute on a recurring basis as well. Let me show you the admin interface real quick and get some feedback on that, hopefully. So, oh, I didn't switch to. So this is the admin portion of the interface, and when you log in here, you kind of get a dashboard of the health of your system. You can look at your video on demand servers, your set-top boxes, presentation devices, any of your LDAP integration that you've done or Active Directory, the actual encoders that are out there. You go out and see the status of those encoders, or even channel guide if we wanted to go out and make sure that it was updating properly. You can also determine where you land when you come in, and because we have dashboard selected, what theme you want it to be when you come into the admin interface. Right now we've got the dark theme selected. We can see who's been logging in, who's locked out of the system, any tasks that are there and if they've successfully run or not. So that's just kind of a quick, when you log in, the things that you can see. The different areas here like access control gives us the ability to go and manage our groups or our individual users or make announcements that will show up on the home page. We can go manage our content. If we wanted to create custom fields, if we wanted to link to URLs, or implement that content approval workflow that we talked about, this is where you would do that. For your devices is where we would be looking at all of our different types of servers and encoders and set-top boxes.
John, this is Lori. Can you go back to the, I think it was that access control or maybe the content management? When you're talking content workflow, that's just that it has to go to somebody for approval, right?
Correct, yes.
Is there a way for it to recognize if I'm a classroom teacher and I hit record and it's recording, is there a way for it to recognize that it's me and that my content goes to my folder that has my students that are already set up to access that?
Yeah, you have a default record location as that teacher by your login. And when you hit the record button, I didn't show the record functionality, but basically in the player, there's just a record button. You don't have to go 3 or 4 menus in like you do with the Cisco solution. You just hit the record button. When you hit stop recording, that file ingests right into your default recording folder.
And that's a device in each classroom, so it's basically lecture capture at the classroom that's pushing?
It could be a video conferencing unit. It could be a lecture cap, like an encoder. It could be software installed on your computer.
Okay.
Or if you're using the add video functionality, it would just be like if you authored from Camtasia, your smartboard software or integrated digital whiteboard software. In any of those instances, it would go to your default record location.
Okay. And so there's only one per teacher?
Yeah, so it's basically a category, really, more than a folder. So then they could go in after the fact if they wanted to go further categorize or add additional metadata. They could go through that process for that piece of content to go and make it available as they want it to be available. And what we're seeing a lot now is, I know time's of the essence, right? But the teachers, especially in this flipped classroom environment, are actually taking the time to go in and make some clips of their video. A real good example of this is Friendship up in Region 17, where the teachers are actually going in and they're pre-recording all of their video, and they're making clips of their video and arranging them in playlists. And they're actually, when they instruct a portion of the class, they're actually running it off their projector. And while the kids are taking in that portion of the lesson, the teachers are going and assisting other students that are struggling with that stuff. So it's a really kind of I call it a mini flip, but it's a real-time flip where the teachers are going in and using the content to afford them more time to help struggling students. I'll show you the record functionality before we leave today. I know we're getting close on time here. And then the UI customization to be able to go in and create your themes. These are the themes that exist here today. If I wanted to create a new one, I could go in and upload any logos that I want and give them the names, go choose what colors. You can see we can do it by OX codes as well. We can go in and choose all the different colors for all the different elements, text and border, background effects, and then you can preview the theme and apply it, and you would have your own branded theme, if you will. And then the reporting capability here would give you the ability to go in and to pull reports based on just about any criteria that you can imagine. So here's a lot of reports that are pre-built, but if you want to build your own custom reports, you can do that as well. I'm going to go back out, if you don't mind, real quick and show you that record capability before we run out of time here today. So for any live event that you're viewing, you do have the ability to record it like I showed you from the scheduler, but also if you just happen to be out here watching an event, I think we have some live encoders here, hopefully we do. That was not going to work. That's a town hall.
There's one called VC Gateway, John, at the very bottom. Very last one.
Okay, BC.
It's on page 3.
Gotcha. We'll just search for it and do it the right way, right? I obviously haven't put all the plugins on my machine. So you'd have the ability, this record button would just be available here that I'm hovering over, and I'd be able to select that. That initiates the recording. I can go in and give it a title, or I can leave it title as I like here, choose the categories I want it to associate it with, and submit that. And you can see here the button's glowing red for me. And when I get through recording, I can just hit the record button again. And that would actually become a file that would go into my default recording location. Well, I see that I'm over time, so I want to be real respectful of that for everyone. But if you have any further questions, feel free to reach out to me. I did record this today. I'll make the archive available to anybody that requests it. And if you would like a copy of the presentation, I'll make that available to you as well.